And the type of action matters, presumably. As you say in the book, you say, non-violent, peaceful demonstrations, civil disobedience that doesn't risk the safety of others. You'll know Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil say they're non-violent. But there are many people who argue their actions are harmful, stopping ambulances get to hospital, or blocking roads when people need to get to work, or destroying artwork. Is that the type of action that you think is valuable or counterproductive?
I mean, it's difficult to talk about these because all these actions are so different and all these movements are also so different. So it's difficult to generalize. But I mean, overall, I think that people are becoming very, very desperate, and that's something that we should have been expecting. And since we have never faced anything like this before, people are going to try out many, many different methods. And since nothing else has been working, they will try new things.
But that question of what constitutes harm is an important one, isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, the harm as in endangering another individual, or harm as in causing some disturbance or like minor disruptions, it's of course a very big scale.
So stopping an ambulance get to hospital would be at one end of the scale, perhaps.
And that's of course something that we cannot be doing because we cannot harm other people.
But stopping people to get to work, if you hold up a van driver, he may lose several hours' money. That's a harm.
Yeah.
But would that be acceptable?
It depends. I cannot speak
And gluing yourself to artwork, a valid way of activism to draw attention to the cause?
And that's not, I mean, it's not up for me to say, because the climate crisis is very broad, and it's not like one person has the right to say that you are doing the wrong thing and so on. But I do also think that we need to realize what kind of privilege we have when the only way well, not the only way, but the most significant way we are approached to the climate and to the climate emergency is by someone blocking a road.
That level of disruption compared to what people in other parts of the world.
Lost houses, lost lives and livelihoods.
I just wonder, recently it sort of fed into this political narrative. I don't know whether you saw it, that suggests it's all tofu eating woke nonsense of the privileged. Does that worry you at all, or what do you think about that sort of characterization of people fighting for the climate?
I mean, there's some kind of misconception that it's only privileged people who can afford to care about the climate. And that's a very westernized picture. When we look at the global scale, most people living on the front lines, I mean, most people who are affected by the climate crisis, and many of the people who are leading the fight against it are the ones actually leading and living on the front lines. They are not these tofu-eating privileged people in the UK, but rather many indigenous peoples all over the world who are in many cases risking their lives and freedom, fighting against this destruction.
And that part of the problem is that they haven't been allowed.
Yeah, exactly. They are not
airtime.
They are not being heard. They are not on the front pages, even though they are living on the front lines.
I just wanted to, I know we're coming close to the end now, but I just wonder whether you've become a global figure and, literally put climate change and the environment on the front pages across the world. But I wonder, has it come at a cost? I mean, none of it can be easy. The front pages may be fine, but you've had to put up with horrible trolling, death threats to your family, as I understand it. I mean, would you ever think this is taking too much out of me?
No, I mean, of course, it can be a lot to do and a lot that you have to deal with sometimes. But I mean, thinking about the trolling, for example, I mean, that's not really something that's difficult to deal with. It's just if you aren't even reading the comments, then it doesn't bother you. But I do think that the the positive effects of this much more outweigh the negative effects, because it gives me, as I said, hope is something that you need to do, and doing something makes me feel at least hopeful in one way. Without doing that, without being an activist, I don't know, I would maybe fall into despair or thinking that nothing can be done. But now when I'm actually taking action, it feels like we can do something about it. It feels meaningful.
You talked in the past about it giving you purpose.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think that today we don't really have enough purpose in our lives, at least speaking from many people I know. It's like we are running around in this endless hamster wheel, trying to fulfill the expectations of others, and trying to, whatever it may be, make money or gain followers on social media or so on, and that doesn't really mean anything. But when you have something to fight for, something that actually means something, it gives you a purpose.
And the fact is, as you say very starkly in the book, that you can keep fighting and still have to live with the disappointment of things maybe not moving in the right direction, certainly not quickly enough.
Yeah. But
there aren't days where you wake up and think, do you know what, I should just do something else, or I should focus more on me, or...
No, I mean, I do other things as well, of course. But we have to remember that this is a marathon and not a sprint. I kind of knew when I got into this that this is something that we're going to have to do for a long time, because things that we are advocating, like major transformational system changes, are not going to happen overnight.
And just in terms of that, you're in it for the long haul. What happens next? Do you have to change the way you're, what you do, or, if you're looking back and thinking, we're not getting the change quick enough, do you change the way you operate?
Maybe. For example, writing this book is a change, because we've talked about we need a system change, and we have referred to these things, but I haven't been given enough time to actually explain what we mean and giving voice to those who actually have important things to say about this. But here is an opportunity to actually explain it in a more thorough way. And I see it as a form of activism, because whatever platform I have, I use it in order to bring attention to the climate crisis and so on. So this is one way of doing it.
And you've explained what you feel about hope, that question that you're asked all the time. I wonder, do you still have faith in humanity, in people?
Not everyone, but I think having spent so much time in the climate movement, meeting so many incredible people from all over the world, fighting for the same cause, that makes me feel hopeful that people can act. There are so many people who are willing to fight for this, and that gives me hope. That when enough people come together, we can achieve almost anything. And also, I hope that there might be positive tipping points. We talk often about these negative tipping points, but I think that there are social tipping points, for example, that we might already have crossed. We don't know. We can't really predict anything like that.
And so you have hope. What brings you joy, finally?
What brings me joy is to of course see results of what we're doing, but joy also just much joy in other activists and the community that we have, which is I am very proud of that we have created.
I'm proud of what you've done so far. Not over yet, but
yeah. In that way, yes, but I don't really measure those things in being proud of or not. When it comes to activism, it's more like this is a moral duty. I am privileged enough to have the possibility of doing something, and therefore I need to do something for as long as I can, as much as I can. So it's